Alright, so watch this VOD here in a second. I just want to say a few things. Alright, so there's a couple of things I like to do. When I do my one-off VOD reviews, I've done a lot of them so far. A lot of them are just like filled with tips all the time, and I'll just be like super critical of someone because I've barely watched their gameplay. But I guess for this, I'm going to take a little bit of a different standpoint on it. So I'm probably going to be critical still, but I'm going to try to explain my mentality of coaching a little bit before this video. So I think it's good to be critical of someone, especially when they're new and they're trying to learn, because you want to really skew them on the right path, and you don't want to let them think that something that you see as a big mistake is something that they think is like, oh, that's just a normal thing that I do. And you want to like skew them in the right path, but you don't want them to feel like they're not confident anymore on that character, or that you tell them like all these tips, like you give them like 30 things that they did wrong in a game, and they just overanalyze it. They're like, oh my god, I did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. I used Guardian Angel wrong at this instance, and I just need to completely rework my playstyle, because that's not what you should do. You should see what someone is doing better than you. So a lot of times it's looking at someone with higher SR, and then just like be like, okay, something I'm going to work on today is whenever I see a res that's 2 or 1 person, I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to use res, and then so what if there's consequences and there's a big team wipe after and you needed res for that fight? It's a learning process of being like, okay, well, I was only resing for like big team fights and I was holding on to res for too long. I just need to like nose to the grindstone, practice just using res basically when it's off cooldown and just practicing it. So like you'll get it in your head, you'll just be like, oh okay, this res that I did for 2 people was really successful, but the 10 times I did it wrong, I see why it was wrong, because oh okay, they hadn't used ults in a while and I used it, and then we got wiped right after whenever we could have waited like 15 seconds and then it would have worked better. So it's just like you need to train yourself by doing the incorrect thing and just doing it over and over again, but knowing what the correct thing is so that you can practice and prepare yourself for doing the correct thing later.
Sure.
But I like to talk a little bit about like the comp that you have, because I think it affects the playstyle that you have. So like Mercy Lucio, I think plays completely different than Mercy Ana, because Mercy Ana you can run triple tank and you can just sit there in the middle of team fights and just kind of like you can just all walk onto the point together, spamming healing each other. Whereas Lucio Mercy, you have way less healing output and you want to be mobile and you want to be attacking places very quickly with speed boost. But with Mercy Ana you can just play completely differently. So I'll look at this team and then I'll evaluate it. Seems like you have, I'm not sure if there's a monkey here. Yeah, D.Va Monkey, Genji Pharah, Lucio Mercy. This is actually like a really, really good comp. A lot of pro teams are running similar things to this. So the playstyle generally for Mercy and Pharah in this kind of comp is you want to be flying with Pharah, but you don't want to commit too hard to just be like tethered to the Pharah where you won't help anyone else, because you do have 2 tanks that you need to heal. So you want to tell your Pharah usually to split off from the rest of your team, and then you will work with her to get like poke off, but then you want to be in a place where you can get back and so you can heal your monkey. So I actually don't know what Mercy settings you have, and Mercy settings are actually really important. So there's a few settings that I tell people that I prefer, and then there's a few that I tell them that they can go either or on. So I'm trying to think of them. I haven't looked at them in a while because I've been sitting on the same settings for a while, but I've played around with them. There's Toggle Beam. I know EVA, one of the biggest and the best Mercy streamers and one tricks. He plays with Toggle on. I prefer it with Toggle off, but his reasoning was basically you don't have to pay as much attention to when you have the beam on someone, and you don't have to be looking at them as much, but I feel like if you have a general enough view of like playing with Mercy and Pharah, playing with Mercy and Soldier, you don't really need to pay that much attention to like looking at the person. You kind of just know where they are, and you can see where your beam is heading. So like, you see it right here, it's like curved down, and even if you weren't looking at her, like if you blocked Pharah out of it, you'd know she's right there because the beam's leading to her. So I think looking at the Pharah is like, it's small importance. Whenever you're playing Mercy with Lucio, you need to be looking to see where your tanks are. So like something like this is like very information based, where you and Pharah are like up, like above the sky, looking at where all your teammates are, and you need to like peek down sometimes to look and see where your tanks are, so you can like prepare to heal them. So something that I would be like super critical of is right here. As Mercy, I have like a really high sensitivity, so I can always be scanning the field, and right here, your teammates died and you didn't see them even go low. So as Mercy, I feel like you have to have the information so you can make a decision. And whenever you don't have this information, you didn't know what the health they were, you didn't even have the decision of, should I commit and fly to them to try to heal them so we can try to win this fight? It was more so the vision wasn't correct where you were looking at that time. So you didn't get the value of seeing if you could heal them or not. And what ends up happening is they end up dying and they didn't get healed. And I think the vision is the most important thing, where you need to be looking at like correct positions so that you can make correct decisions. So I think that's also another Mercy thing. There's an option where it's Guardian Angel prefers beam target, and so one thing that you can do is you put your beam on someone and you can look completely opposite. You can just be looking all around you, and you can just be staring at the floor, and Pharah can be above you, and you press shift while you're looking at the floor and you'll still fly right back up to the Pharah. And so that helps you when you're tethered to the Pharah. You can just be looking all around the battlefield and just be pressing shift, and you'll constantly just be like flying upwards towards her. And you don't need to pay attention to where she is most of the time unless she's flying over walls, because then it gets a little bit trickier. But that helps you with, hey, I'm just able to just look at my other teammates and see if they need help. And so then at that instance, you can drop the beam on Pharah and then look to fly to those other teammates when they need the help. It's a bit of an information blast, but I feel like I need to get like my mentality and what I think about Mercy out of the way, so. So, I guess this is a bit of a team thing, but if someone else watches this VOD, something you need to talk to your teammates about, especially this Winston right here, is coordinating when you were jumping in together. Like the first push, I think everyone went in together, but the kills didn't happen. I don't think there was enough healing, and there probably wasn't enough like calling who you wanted to focus, which isn't all your job, but like there should be at least one person on the team counting down, I think, when you all want to dive, so you can just like all group up here at the door and then just be like, alright guys, on the count of 3, we're all going to jump in and we're all going to jump on them, and then we're going to call who we're going to focus, or you can be like, alright, in 3 seconds we're going to jump on their Ana. And then you just count it down 1, 2, 3, and then everyone knows to use their movement skills to get over there, and then you all jump the Ana. You can all pretty much insta-kill her if you do that with the dive characters you have. But what ended up happening there is he almost died, and he just traded ult charge. I mean, you got ult charge for it too, but he could have died really easily there, and it would have just staggered your team. And one thing I guess that you don't want to do as Mercy, or as Winston rather, but when playing as Mercy is, especially when they have, okay, you were super lucky there, but like Winston versus Rein, you don't want to sit here and just like Tesla cannon the Rein as Winston. So as you should tell him, if you are pocketing him, let's try to jump over the Rein and punish their backline, because what ends up happening is Rein is just sitting here smacking the Winston, usually getting healed himself, and then you're just healing the Winston, and the Winston's doing like 3 damage a tick, or whatever it is, 1.5 damage, I can't remember the exact number, but he's just ending up sitting there just like tickling the Rein, and it's not doing anything, and the Rein's sitting there hitting him with the hammer for 75 damage, and he'll eventually just build his ult up, and then he can just shatter the whole team. So you were lucky that he ended up blocking it, but... So that was actually really good. I thought you were going to back away from the fight, but that was actually really smart to come around. So the VOD is really long, so I don't know if I can actually back up that easily. Very difficult. Okay, that's okay. Okay, that was really good. Okay, something I always tell people is that you can jump backwards sometimes to like extend the look reach of like Guardian Angel to be able to like grab onto people. But you jumped right here for this is good. So when coming in for a res, you know, like right here, you see like most of the enemy team. You should always be thinking about, okay, I have res, I have my moments of invulnerability. Where should I be that will give me the best chance of getting out of this? So, also Guardian Angel, or Resurrection resets Guardian Angel, so you can look to use it again to get out. So a lot of times I'll do just like a 180 and I'll look to just like get away as soon as possible, because in this situation, you don't want to be in this room. The whole team, there's like 3 people over here, and there's 3 people over here. So you walking over here, your invulnerability is up, and you're now on top of 3 people, 3 enemies. And so your teammates over here are fine, but you ended up putting yourself in this bad position over here where I think you could have just jumped up here, rezzed, and then jumped back down off this. It is a lot to get used to, like thinking on the fly, but yeah, it's probably good. Just sit back and wait for your teammates to die. Telling your team to regroup. So now you kind of want to just like, you want to go for a push, but you definitely want to like try to get the most value out of your healing right now and try to build up res again. So you just want to kind of like play safe and go for the not risky heals just so you can build your res up again. So one thing you could have done right there is you don't necessarily have to jump towards the person you actually want to heal. So like you could technically walk up these stairs or whatever, or come up here and see if you can get an angle on the Rein to heal him, but this mod is pretty hard to actually go back on. I don't want to scoot back too far. Like this is already too far, but that's the least I can go. So I want to talk like about this instance right here. So right here, you see 2 teammates are low. And whenever you think about the map, so like whenever I'm like playing Mercy, I'm always visualizing the map. And so I'm like, okay, how can I get to these 2 people that are in here? You can walk over here to these stairs, which is, it's going to take a while, and you don't have res, so they're probably going to die. You can walk up here to the right, which again is basically the same trail, like length, like time-wise. Or you can jump to the Pharah right here. Will put you in position up here, and it will give you line of sight of the people in the room here. So that's where I would have let my tether go on her and jumped up to her. Might have been an angle right there. It's hard to tell sometimes, but yeah, the Pharah, jumping up to the Pharah would have give you, I think, the best chance of getting to them. Maybe not to heal the Lucio, but get to the Rein. Your Rein just cleaned up. That was pretty sick. I think they had TP, which made that really tough, but that's something to communicate with your team whenever you are playing just to support, like telling the tanks like what they need to do. Because a lot of times when Rein's holding shield, he gets like a limited POV of like what he can actually see, even though it is sometimes wider. you usually get to stand back further and you get to see things that are happening and just be like, oh, I hear them going through the TP right now, or Ryan, you should probably hold shield right now because there's a lot of people shooting at you from like a side angle, where you can tell them you need to hold your shield right now so we can live and win this fight. Okay, so you have Guardian Angel doesn't prefer beam target on right now. I can tell with the setting. So the thing with the other Pharah, I used to use this setting a lot, but I've actually changed recently. So you can sit up here with the Pharah, hold your beam on her, and you need to look back up to her to get the res, to use your Guardian Angel to get back to her. But you can just be looking up here. Basically, this is like perfect right here, where you just like, you're up in the air with her, and you just look down at the ground, and you can just heal people. So right here, you can cheat a bit with tether sometimes, where you get your like max range on the tether with someone, and you can like hook it onto them, and then you can boost back up to the Pharah, and it will stick with him even if it's beyond max range for like, I think it's 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds, and the tether stays on them and it heals them even though you're technically out of range. And then you can just keep like abusing that, where you just keep resetting it. You drop like low enough so that it like you can attach the tether onto him again, and then you fly back up, and then it has that like 2-second grace period, and then you just keep like using that where you fall a little bit, use your Guardian Angel to jump back up again. It's a way to stay like out of combat and like in a really good position without dropping your tether on someone. Standing up here is also like a really great position, because you can crouch behind this and you can hide behind this, and you have like a great view of the battle that's going on.
There we go. There it was. Oh! Drop it.
I'll fast forward a bit. So yeah, when I'm playing Mercy on this map especially, the thing I want to do is, I want my team mostly to play right here, so I tell them, like, probably don't go into this room as much. And I want to abuse the fact that my soldier, you know where he is. Basically, your soldier can be on high ground, so if like they start flooding in this area and you start taking damage, you can just immediately do a U-turn and jump back up to your soldier and be safe, and just like abuse the fact that you can get like long range Guardian Angels off. One thing that where is your soldier? Yeah, that's I thought he was for sure back up there still. So right here in this instance, I know you're just talking people off, but I would be looking to see where your soldier is if he hasn't already told you, so that you know your escape route. He's right here. I personally, even if it was like a pro player or something, I would tell them like go up there so that I can have an escape if something happens. Sure, they won't get as many shots off, but it keeps you safe, and you being the main healer is very important. I think it was the correct decision to pull out pistol there. But you aren't actively healing your teammates right here, so something about walking out in the open whenever you do have res. You should be looking to get the res whenever you can. That's a tough one. So that wasn't too wrong of a decision, but something I think you maybe could have done is walk towards the... Let me see if I can go back. Okay, you went to deal with the D.Va. So your D.Va's demeched and your Rein is already fighting people. So in this instance, you want to be able to get to them. This was actually kind of smart where you got some high ground so you could see if you could Guardian Angel to them. I probably would have walked up and around because you still had time and you saw him dying. And then I would have also told the Rein, walk towards the D.Va who's dead. Sometimes they don't listen, but you can try sometimes. So you could have walked around maybe. You probably would have enough time. It seems like it's a really long range for it, but You can walk up on the steps over here to the bottom left, and then it'll give you some high ground, or see if you can jump and grab onto that. Because I think the way you could have gotten this res is jumping to this D.Va with Guardian Angel, and then trying to like lunge at the Rein and see if you can get the 2-man res that way. You do try, and you do the correct thing when you're on the ground, if you didn't have an angle on the D.Va. Okay, this is alright. So whenever people, it's very minimal thing to say, but whenever people are in Zen ult or like usually Lucio ult, you just damage boost them because they're not in kill threat most of the time from dying, so you can usually just sit there on damage boost while they're just like basically all full health. Team's getting set up. Good. This is where I would be communicating to my team, alright, Soldier, I want high ground, D.Va, you can sit on high ground, that's good too. And just basically telling the teams to set up, because whenever you have your teammates all over the place, you can kind of use them like leaping points or pawns to jump to. It's pretty mean to say that, but just be like, alright, Rein's right here, I have someone up there, and you can just have them all over the place, so like if you're in any danger, or if you need to get to them, it's a very easy flight path to get to them. So it's pretty tough. Whenever your teammates are in this like little like enclosed area, it's very hard for you to get to them because there's a lot of walls in the way, and I mean, there's a lot of walls. You can't really heal them because whenever people are bunched up a lot, it's really hard to change your beam from person to person. Just because the game doesn't like to let you do that, but you have TP down, so it isn't the worst. Watching everyone die around you. It's a hard world for Mercy. So I don't think that game was played too horribly. There definitely was a lot of team mistakes and positioning mistakes, and I think that comes from like people understanding your Mercy playstyle as you play more and more Mercy with people. They understand more instances of when we need to group to die together, and if a teammate's already dead and it looks like someone's going to die, then dying in the correct location so you can get a res off, and then also you directing where people should be so it makes your life easier, like telling your people like don't group up in the top left where that room it's like super close quarters and it's hard for people to actually like to get healed. You want them to be spread out around the point on the high points so you can jump to them if you need safety, and they can play in like a different manner than they would if you had an Ana or something. So overall the game was okay. Yeah, I think it's just one thing I always tell people is just like vision is so important on Mercy, where I guess it's important on Ana too, but just like knowing where your teammates are and where they're walking to, and then like knowing, okay, this teammate is walking this current path and I know where they're going to be in a second. I'm going to start walking towards where they're going to be so I can heal them sooner rather than trying to follow them, which will take longer for you to be able to get to them. And you can end up just like walking in circles, like chasing a person, basically like chasing a tail. So yeah, I think that's about it.